Call to order the November 6th, 2025 workshop meeting of the Downers Grove Park District. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bender,
Here.
Mr. Dahlstrom,
Here.
Johnson. Here. Mr. Lunt,
Here.
Ms. Walsh. Here.
Commissioners, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for Commissioner Dahlstrom, who is absent due to work-related obligations and in accordance with the Open Meetings Act and district policy, has requested to participate remotely. As this constitutes a qualifying reason for remote attendance and a physical quorum is present, a motion to approve Commissioner Dahlstrom's remote participation would be in order. Commissioners, may I please have a motion?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bender,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh. Aye. Ms. Johnson. Aye. Mr. Lunt.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. At this time, I'd like to have everybody rise and face the flag and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take your seat. Mr. McAdam, item number A5, any changes to the agenda?
We have none listed.
Thank you, sir. Item number A6, public comment. Is there anybody here wishing to public comment? Please, you can approach the podium. State your name, and we do remember there is a 5-minute rule. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Maureen Roach. I live at 1110 Grove Street in Downers Grove. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address the commissioners and the council. And thank you for all you do to make the Park District as good as it is. I also wanted to thank the commissioner who forwarded my October 28th email to the Deputy Chief of Downers Grove. He was at my condo building the very next day, and I really appreciate the cooperation between the Park District and the Downers Grove Police Department in this particular incident. I'm here to address an ongoing and serious safety issue that I and my fellow condo owners at 1110 Grove Street and the neighbors around Fishell Park. As much as we love having the facility where it is and all the activities that go on for the community, there's some unresolved issues with the unhoused that have escalated to extreme and costly vandalism as of 2 a.m. on October 27th. For those of you who perhaps did not see my email, there were 6 vehicles, each with 2 tires on each of the vehicles slashed, and 1 vehicle that had body damage to it. There was also damage to the Park District property. We are all scared and do not feel safe anymore using the park on our own property, walking through it to the train, to the library, and into town. We continually are dealing with night and daytime disturbances, with sometimes daily calls to the police department. We as a community, we need your help in addressing these issues on the property of alcohol use, drug use, residency on the premises of the unhoused, profanity, and sometimes threats, personal threats to people in our building. So I guess I look at what can be done. I know that the police are trying. I understand what a difficult situation it is. And Downers Grove is a very accommodating community, as it should be, to the unhoused. But are there some solutions here? Because for us at 1110 Grove, it is continually ongoing. So some suggestions, possible fencing between our properties that would make it less accessible to something as serious as to what happened just recently. Maybe some type of security task force, perhaps hired by the Park District, like the Forest Preserve has. I understand that that's a budget issue. Maybe a community service officer who's dedicated to our various parks in the Downers Grove Park District on a daily basis. And I say this before, honestly, one of our kids, one of our elderly, are more seriously hurt or injured, and then whose fault would it be? So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present this issue. And however we can work together with you to resolve it, we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Is there any other public comment? Just want to let you know that the Park District takes our patrons' safety extremely seriously. It's something that we want people to enjoy the parks with. To address that issue, and just for a moment, Mr. McAdam, our executive director, I believe you are already working on.
Yeah, I know the mayor, at their meeting had offered to meet with representatives from the condo. They reached out to us to see if, we would like to attend. So we've responded to that. That myself and President Lunt, will join the mayor and village administrator Fieldman to meet with you to talk about some of these issues and see how we can resolve them together.
Yeah, resolution, thank you. The resolution is what we're looking for.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McAdam, item number B1, any recognition of visitors?
We have no invited guests this evening.
All right, sir. Let's go to discussion items. Item number C1 on the agenda, Mr. McAdam.
So we update, the marketing department updates our advertising and sponsorship program. Unfortunately, Dawn is not able to be here tonight. But if the commissioners have any questions or comments, Eric and I will do our marketing best to answer those.
Commissioner, any comments, concerns?
Just want to say that I thought the package that was put together here was really well done. I thought it's really exciting looking, and I'll be looking forward to seeing how we're able to execute this plan. I thought
We will pass that on.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done.
Mr. Vice President?
I don't know.
Commissioner?
About the rebranding?
Yeah, no, about the sponsorship marketing.
Oh, no.
Excellent work is my only comment. It was very well put together as all of paperwork, but nicely done. Thank you.
And don't forget you have John on.
John, I'm sorry. My fault.
That's
You
okay. That's okay, President Lund. I appreciate it. No further comments.
Thank you. Item number C2, Mr. McAdam, the rebranding memorandum in our packet.
This comes out of the discussion we had at the last meeting, which was a subject that you had brought up, requested some background information, specifically some costs and a plan. Again, the marketing department and under Dawn's leadership put that together so you can see what some estimated costs would be, as well as maybe some alternatives to try to achieve the goals that I think you were setting out. So we just wanted to bring that forward and then open it for any discussion.
Commissioners, if you wouldn't mind, I'll kind of take the lead on this because it was my proposal. Again, thank you for these baseline numbers. It's a project that I would like to move forward with. I think that the rebranding is important, but I don't think right now with some of the costs for next year's budget. To my fellow commissioners, I don't think we should explore some of those options. That's just my opinion. I think we should use some of those resources and monies towards existing projects that we have. I think that's more prudent. Would I like to do this? Probably revisit this in 27 and have a more in-depth or deep dive into the budget to figure out how we're going to pay for it. Probably, but I just think that for right now, I like the alternative marketing strategy that was laid out in the memo. I just don't think that right now the cost, it's kind of cost prohibitive in this budget year. So with that, I'll open the floor if anybody has any comments or concerns.
No comment, just thanks to the staff, to Dawn, today, giving us some numbers to look at when evaluating this.
That was really thorough.
Commissioners, any comments or concerns or?
Yeah, I appreciate what Don put together. It was very insightful. I think, given the costs, but even regardless of the cost, I guess I have hesitation of the rebranding efforts. So I am supportive of going with the alternative, the awareness campaign for the near future.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dahlstrom, any comments, concerns regarding the rebranding item C2?
More or less just a regurgitation of what's already been shared. I think the financial projections and the related expenses associated with the rebranding was extremely helpful. It always starts with the numbers. So thank you for putting that together. Commissioner Lunt, President Lunt, I agree with your sentiment. I would rather we move forward with the marketing efforts as opposed to the rebranding efforts at this point in time. I do believe it is cost prohibitive.
Thank you, sir. Item number C3.
Yes, we wanted to bring forward the revised short game practice facility, where we're at with that, and give a little update. So I will turn it over to our rec golf team.
Yes. Good evening. So tonight, what we're gonna do is bring back a revised short game option that was based off of the suggestions that you guys made to us in September. So as you can see on a lot of these slides, you can see that there is quite a much higher price point with the revised option. But the revised option is much more extensive than some of the other options we presented back in September. What I want to do first is kind of go over all the amenities that these revised option will provide our guests and residents. And then we can go ahead and break down what caused these increasing costs based from previous presentations. So first off, what was discussed, there's a much larger putting green than any of our initial plans. This putting green is going to be essentially twice the size of our current putting green. What was added to this as well is a cart path walkway area between the new putting green, our maintenance staff and Jeff Posen's area down behind the parking lots. And then also the short game area was now expanded to the proper size that was requested by the board, with a somewhere around a 20 to 25 yard fairway approach and a short game green that was decided to be put in with synthetic turf to allow the customer to have a more green-like feel when approaching that, along with two sand bunkers in that as well. In this option here, there will be minimal reduction to the parking lot. You can see with a little cut off this angle here. At most, 3 parking lot spaces will be eliminated, possibly none, depending on how much room is made at that turn. A lot of that area every single day is brought in with different shipping or delivery trucks, and you come in to make sure that they can turn around in the parking lot and deliver from the clubhouse. And this area also shows that a little addition of some fencing. We're gonna have to add additional fencing to protect the back end of the new short game area. This will protect the school area behind, also protect the maintenance workers for when they're working. Another protective fencing will be put behind our current private lesson tee, protect our professionals when giving lessons, but also to make this short game area available to the guests at all time. Currently, the short game area is only available when lessons are not taking place. This will allow that even when lessons are going on, our new renovated short game area will be available to the public. And this is the driving range portion of it. During this portion, during our last meeting, one of the highlights was expanding the length of the current driving range tee. We saw that there was a return on investment with this, expanding about 3 to 4 stations on the far east side of the range. Also down here, we'll have the expanded of the concrete pathway or the concrete pad that will have those, whether it be in grass or on mats, so they're available all the time. This also shows all the different synthetic greens that will be added throughout the driving range, creating better experience for our golfers. And then it also shows that we'll have the new driving range netting surrounding the whole entire driving range, moving up and also protecting the new portion of the driving range tee. So with all of these new additions, obviously, if you want to go to the next slide, Chris, they did come out at a slightly higher cost. We kind of broke down those reasons. First off is the starting date of the project. The initial proposal had the starting date being around the beginning of August. After meeting with the architect, well, we discussed that the best time to do this would be more of a fall project, moving into November. This does come at an increase of cost, but it also allows our driving range to be available to the public the whole entire year. So there's an offset there. The money that we would have lost by closing the driving range and the short game area was, this money then can be used towards the project itself. Then also by moving it later into the fall, the option of using sod versus seed comes into play. By sodding the whole entire project rather than seeding the project, it does come at a little higher cost, but then the seed, correct me if I'm wrong, the sod then will then be ready for to be used earlier in the spring.
Right.
A seeded project may be delayed based off of weather, not knowing when it's gonna be available in the spring, correct? Right. So having the project ready to go the following spring, we thought was very important. As I already discussed, the synthetic turf short game green was the decision that we thought was needed. One of the things we were discussing was whether or not that the short game area was gonna have that fairway grass move all the way up to the putting green, and how the customer would react, or guests react with hitting into a fairway. By providing a synthetic turf green on that short game area, it doesn't increase any maintenance costs for Jeff and his staff, but it also provides the product that our guest is looking for. Now with this, and when the project's going to take place, the next bullet point was the architectural and supervision fees. By having it later into the fall and the scope of the project, it was decided that having an architect or a contractor supervise the whole entire project rather than doing that in-house would get more done in a timely fashion. Also, when we get into the fall, Jeff's crew becomes smaller due to our restrictions with employees and things along those lines. So a number of different factors came into that. And the last thing that was added to this expense list was a contingency expense. Initially presented to the board, there was no contingency, it was just the expense items. In the proposal or the estimates that was provided to us by the architect, there was a 10% or close to $100,000 contingency that's based off into this price. So what we were looking for from the board is just consensus that this is kind of a plan that you guys are looking for us to move forward with. Eric, I believe I'm wrong, we're not looking for any approval or anything.
There's no approval necessary at this time. The approval would come when we go out for bid for the different items. This is already built in portion of it in 2026, the netting and such. The rest would be in the 2027 budget, so it's not a budgeting issue either.
But correct me if I'm wrong, C is a more comprehensive.
This is more comprehensive than
Comprehensive.
any of the three that we had originally.
Right.
We're looking at A and B, but C is, if you will, and give me some leeway, you're more like a soup to nuts, expanding the.
Right, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of putting all of the different the different highlights or the different what we wanted from all the different options, putting it into one, and essentially doing it doing it right so that we don't have to address this in the future, that we're providing our guests with the optimal experience from the land that we have.
Commissioners, open up the floor for discussion. If you don't mind, I'll ask Commissioner Dahlstrom. I know this is a project that you've taken the lead on and have, for lack of a better choice, will champion. Just what are your thoughts or concerns looking at these items?
I think my thoughts are, I do like and appreciate revised option C. Absolutely. It affords various features and amenities for the residents of Downers Grove. That's not a question. The cost is significantly higher. I realize 10% of that is specific to the contingency. So perhaps my question there is, given the fact that this would be overseen internally by the Downers Grove Park District, what percentage of that contingency do we think would be leveraged during this project, right? So of that 10%, the $110,000, do we have any idea of the potential impact or the expense within that contingency? as a result of project execution and completion?
Well, the contingency is for the unknown. So the answer to that is we really don't know until we get in the project.
Right.
But best practice is to have the contingency, so when the project is rolling, we've got that in the budget and we're not going over the budget. Our hope is always to never use that contingency, but it's there in case the unforeseen happens.
I think we'll have less control, if I understand correctly, too, because we're gonna have the outside consultants overseeing this. It won't be internal any longer due to the timing of later in the fall and due to the complexity of it. I believe a simpler option was available for Jeff and staff to oversee, but I think this one's gonna lean on those consultants more.
And then Commissioner Dahlstrom, also in these estimates, already built into this expense was an expense of supervision and architectural fees. So it's not like he's taking those fees out of that contingency. It was already built into this.
Okay, that's helpful.
Any other questions, sir?
Not at this time.
I'll go ahead and jump in. Maybe Commissioner Dahlstrom also let in. First, from the onset, I just want to say, since we have guests here who might not be aware, the $1.1 million there, that comes from the golf course fund. That's not coming from property taxes. That's people who aren't using the golf course. That's not coming, that they're not paying for that. That's correct. I just want to be very clear that when we're talking about dropping $1.1 million in the golf course, it's golf course money.
Thank you.
That's not your money. Unless you're a golfer, I don't know. Maybe you're a golfer, so. But so, and that being, said that it is the golf course's money, that I did notice the higher price tag. That was kind of a shock. I think we were $300,000 last time. So last time. But the increased revenue, and you guys can put the offsetting money in there, like the increased revenue of pushing the project back that we're going to get because we're going to get to use the driving range for portions of the year that we wouldn't if we started this earlier.
Correct.
So in my head, I don't know what I'm taking down, 100,000, 75,000.
Well, I mean, depending on months, I mean, you kind of look at the months during our busier months, we're somewhere around $60,000 in driving range revenue.
Okay.
So it obviously slows down as we get this time of year.
August, November, so
exactly.
That's 1 month like that, but in
Right.
total, I guess just where my head's at, I'm thinking that's $100,000.
On the low end. Right. Yeah.
Offsetting.
Yeah.
And, not to mention, the sodding, same thing, other end.
Right.
So we're getting back to that like original dollar number in my head. I think, and then, part of the purpose of this plan too is just that people will buy range balls to go hit at this other side, so that we'll get even more revenue because we have this short game area where people will range ball. So long term, this is an investment, and the high schools use that, and so now both high schools, correct?
So both high schools do, and this new plan will not have any effect on the high schools. The old one had an effect on high schools.
But it gives them more area to practice,
Oh, for sure. It's a much, yeah,
each other.
absolutely.
So it's doing a great thing for the high school kids here, especially that bigger green too. I'm sure they
Right.
cover that practice green. The concern, I know we had gone back and forth in the last conversation about the parking spaces and about whether we needed that paved path coming from the garage area there.
Right.
And I don't think I've been there on the high end. Do we ever need to use overflow parking there now? Like, do we ever have to have people parking on the streets, or do they go use Puffer School, or do we not bump into?
So the only time that would happen is if there was a non-golf event happening at the golf course when golf is going on. So when we're just servicing golf or just servicing an outing, the parking is more than adequate with a few spaces left over. If there was a clubhouse rental, which we gotta get into sometimes at the end of the season, and if that's the case, you're not just talking 3 spaces. You could be talking
Right.
50 spaces, and then you get puffer in the streets involved. So on your 99% of your normal business days, the loss of 3 spaces will not have an impact on the property.
I mean, kind of related, and do we encourage people to use puffer rather than park on the streets? I just don't want to see people.
We have not had that case.
We just
No, to be honest, I think we may have only had for the past 7 years that I've been But we may only had one or two times that we've had to contact buffer to use that property, so.
Yeah, well, that's why, I mean, with the money coming out of the golf course and the potential return on investment that this represents, I'm glad that we went with the bolder plan instead of doing something, kind of halfway and not really accomplishing what we wanted to here. I guess we really I don't think the first one had all fencing right around the green too. I think that we think about that the first time.
Those always had the fencing. I just wanted to highlight all the protection that was out there. But
Okay.
all those, yeah, those were all the additional plans as well.
Okay, all right, yeah, no, I'm on board with pursuing this. I am actually glad that we were able to put the path in from the maintenance garage area, so people aren't driving all the way around or driving through, people hitting. I think that'll make it a lot easier for your team to get in and out. So, all right, so move forward with it is what I would be in favor of.
Commissioner Johnson, I'm sorry, you go.
I am.
Commissioner Johnson? Your thought?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I think it looks good.
Commissioner Walsh?
I also think that it looks really good. I'm really impressed with it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I mean, I think that the way the revenue sourcing and the way that you programmed on identifying how we're gonna identifying where the funding is gonna come from. As Commissioner Bender or Vice President Bender pointed out, I think that this is an excellent project. We'll recoup later on. Everything, your recommendations has been it seems to have paid off. The place looks great. Obviously, the number of holes booked and rounds booked and everything else like that, it keeps going up. So like any other your suggestions, I think this is a winner.
Well, I mean, he's not always here, but Jeff makes my job pretty easy. So it's when there's a nice product out there, it makes the manager's job easier for the course to sell. So it's it's an awesome property. And one of the things that I want to mention is that I think Jeff and I both agree that when we have a revenue generating source that provides to our residents and guests so much like the range does, we want to keep up with it. When people feel like we're reinvesting back into it, and that's one of the things we see from the customers all the time, or from our residents, is that they appreciate how much we're investing back into the property. And then obviously this will be another huge change for them, so I think they'll definitely appreciate it. So
absolutely, a lot of heavy lifting, but I think this is a very thorough document, and I appreciate your concerns. Thank you. And thank you.
Ken,
yeah,
following board approval in 2026. I think it would be a fantastic idea for us to go on the offensive with a marketing campaign and not only let the players of the Belmont Golf Course know, but also the residents of Downers Grove know that we are going to be further investing, to Commissioner Lunt's point, in the Belmont Golf Course. So I'm thinking of a social campaign, a print campaign, and then a digital campaign that would take place on our website. So let's make sure we earmark those efforts. I know Dawn's not here tonight, but this is fun, it's exciting, and it's going to immediately deliver a positive impact. And I want to make sure we share and tell this story with the residents of Downers Grove.
absolutely.
And my thanks to Commissioner Dahlstrom for his work on this project as well. Thank you, John, for bringing this to light and championing. Very much appreciate it.
You bet.
Item number C4. Ken, would you like to talk about C4 too?
Let's see
Just say no, Ken.
This is again of number C4, Blue Point Systems.
We just wanted to have a discussion on a key solution for some enhanced security at the Lincoln Center. Chris is handling that, or?
Yes, he is. Yes.
I will turn it to Chris then.
Thank you. So, thank you, Commissioner. So earlier this year, the IT department was approached by staff at the Recreation Center regarding a building lockdown solution. So what we originally did is we sought out solutions from door access control vendors who proposed kind of a panic push button installed in rooms throughout the facilities. Those solutions only provided a basic but effective lockdown solution. We also reached out to the Downers Grove Police Department for an assessment and their suggestions. And the former deputy chief and current support services manager, kind of a mouthful, Bill Buds, met with staff at the Lincoln Center, and he's recommended the Blue Point system. And this system is also already installed and used throughout schools in Downers Grove. So that, taking from there, staff met with a representative from Blue Point, who also conducted an on-site demonstration of their equipment and services. We were very impressed with it. And in addition to not only Blue Point offering the ability to lock down and secure the building, Blue Point also provides visual and audio alarms throughout the building, building-wide PA announcements, letting the public and people in there know that the building is in lockdown and secure their location. It also includes mass notification to law enforcement officers via text messaging, phone calls, emails, while also simultaneously dialing 911 dispatch. Security camera access to law enforcement during a lockdown event. And then probably most importantly, during a lockdown event, two-way communication is also established. It creates kind of a command and control center, and it allows first responders to access the camera system, talk to patrons who might be locked down or staff in the building, and vice versa. So these were all features that the push button solutions proposed by card access vendors lacked. So we kind of prefer the Blue Point solution. The Blue Point solution not only has the ability to notify the police right away, but it also includes medical poll stations. So if somebody's having a medical emergency, they can push the medical poll station, and that directly summons paramedics and first responders and simultaneously staff as well. So what I would like to do next here is share a 3-minute video on the Blue Point system. What this does is kind of covers the hardware of the Blue Point system, how it works, and then I'll go ahead and take it from there. So give me just a second. Let me share the video. This video is from the Blue Point manufacturer himself. Yeah, let me get this out of the way here.
To go by a school superintendent, our founder, John McNutt, because after the City of Elementary School shooting, the school superintendent, Todd, said, we've got to do something to respond to active shooter situations. We have this fire alarm pole in the wall, and nobody's died in a school fire in 7 decades. Why can't we do the same thing for police? So we built Blue Point Alert Solutions, which is a police and medical activation tool for immediate response to an emergency. It's built off of a 900 megahertz wireless platform. So we put computers throughout your campus, and then we can place these devices anywhere. These devices are point identifiable, so you can enable them to be in the main office, gymnasium, cafeteria, or also can be turned into a medical pole or even a hazardous material pole. So upon activation, multiple things occur. Upon activation, if you put strobe lights in, the strobe light will go off. We initially tie into your PA system in your school, so a recorded message will play, and then we can also integrate it with your existing cameras. As you can see, upon that activation, I made a phone call will come to your phone. It's a recorded message that you will get. I'll just hang up on that one. Additionally, you get a text message. That text message goes to all your primary contacts, including local law enforcement. And then in that text message, you get a number of links. One of those links is a video link, and that allows you to pull up a video camera that was close to the device that was activated. And then what you get is a live video feed from your existing IP camera that will show that. And so in a second, you will see myself and Myra, who's videoing me right now as we speak. There is a live video feed camera in that. In addition, in that text message, it gives you a VPI link, which is a map layout of your building. And so it will pop up as a map layout of your building, and an orange light will blink to show where the device was activated. And that'll pop up there on the screen in a second, which gives you real-time information. This also goes to local law enforcement. The last thing about the text message is you can actually respond to it like you would a normal text. So I'll type in, I need help. I'm going to send that message off as a text. If you click this live link, which is access we give to administrators and law enforcement, what you'll see then here is that text that I sent. We've done a lot of demos today, sorry. Way at the bottom that says, I need help. I can then reply to that message to that individual, and I can ask them, I can say, are you hurt? Or in danger, I can hit send. And that message is timestamped on there, and then I'll actually receive that text message, so whoever that was sending to would get that. So it's a very robust system that we'd love the opportunity to share with you more. Again, David Oxford from White Oak Solutions. Thank you.
So what we're looking for is consensus from the board tonight. What we'd like to do is bring this forward to go out for bid on the November 20th board meeting.
Be clear, you're just looking to bid the installation work. Are we already thinking of just purchasing the Blue Point system?
So what we're looking for consensus for is to bid the installation of the Blue Point system, the monitoring service and the maintenance service, which those are a 3-year contract. The installation would just be a fixed price.
And the hardware is included.
The hardware is included in that.
So when
It's all in
you
one.
say bid the installation, you're bidding, so I'm wondering what. Is it, and I guess the way it's phrased, we're bidding the Blue Point system. Are we not bidding a system that contacts the police directly? Or like, we're buying the Blue Point
So
system?
what
That's
we
what I don't
found-
get.
What we found out, it took us a while, that there's multiple installers that can, authorized installers for the Blue Link system. As part of the installation, they also sell you the hardware. And it's all in one price. So we would be bidding out specifically for the Blue.
So like the
Point.
specs in the procurement, say somebody to install this specific system, we're not required to bid for any system capable of contacting the police through one pool automatic, like in a more generic sense, we don't have to do that.
Well, this would, so when this install is complete, that would include everything from A to Z, including contacting the police and emergency personnel right away. So whoever does the install also provides the monitoring service and the contact service.
Blue Point isn't the only service that contacts the police. Other services can be one-touch contact the police.
So we would spec it based on the Blue Point system.
Right.
Someone else could bid it with an alternative system. And if they're the low bidder, we would look at that to make sure that that system was the same spec and would still do the same
Right.
things
You
that
could
the
write-
Blue Point.
But you could write the specs so specific that really, in the real world,
Right.
what Blue Point is gonna
It-
fit in there, I just don't know why we wanna.
It's the same with playground equipment.
Do
A
that.
lot of times we'll spec it because we know what exactly we want. Now, if someone wants to bid it with an alternative, they can do that. And then it comes down to the board's final decision as to, do we want to take the alternative or do we want to go with the Blue Point system?
As this was the one recommended by the police and that this local schools have, that was one of the reasons they suggested it too. They're aware of it and such. And that was one of the reasons we also wanted to keep more consistent with it.
Do we know how the schools bid it? Did they just bid a more generic, one point contact to police, or they also know they were like kind of looking at the
You can
Blue
ask
Point
them.
system before they got into it? Cause I guess I would feel a little better if they like openly bid it, looked at many options for one-touch contact to the police, and that's just the one they landed on. Because I mean, of course, the police are gonna recommend this one. They're already familiar with it. Nobody wants to learn two systems. I understand all the advantages of that, but I just don't want to, miss an opportunity if there's.
From how I agree with you, there's probably all kinds of solutions that contact the police, but as I'm looking at the specs and become familiar with, it's kind of a proprietary system that they've created that just not only does it contact 911 dispatch simultaneously, but it's sending text messages to local law enforcement who are already on their way to the building.
I mean, every security system I've ever purchased, it hits up my text message every time somebody trips a door contact. I mean, that's not like a unique feature.
Well, I'm sorry, just for a second. Before I yield the floor, I have the same reservations that Vice President Bender had. It seems like we're sole sourcing.
Mhm.
We're sole sourcing an item that could be out to bid that other resources could provide the same sources. We're not doing the sole source justification, but we are doing the sole source justification because we're saying that this is the only company that provides that. And we're not opening up the bid So if you compare the bid for goods and services that could be provided by more than one vendor, it appears to me, I want the program, but I think the process is skewed because of the fact that we basically are skewing the bid and sole sourcing it, saying this is the only product that we want. It's not really a bid process other than if I'm, follow what I'm saying.
So before we were gonna seek approval to go out for bid for this, we did not know that this is a product that had to go out for bid. We figured that this would be an IT product or IT at first or professional services. I did reach out to other solutions, one of them being single wire. Single wire is an all building paging system, goes with our Cisco phone system. They have kind of the same, for lack of a better word, notification. What they did lack was notifying police via text message or mass notification. The only thing they were kind of limited to when they approached me was, oh, hey, we can do the same thing. We can sell you the same poll stations. But when we really looked at the quote, they could not notify the police the way Blue Point could notify. I don't know why.
We can
but
write the
yeah,
bid spec with the functions that we want. And then other systems that they meet that functions, we can evaluate that.
but
And I'm sorry, yield the floor to Commissioner Walsh.
I was just gonna say to Brett's point, though, if Blue Point knew that we were shopping around, perhaps they would be more, maybe they'd sharpen their pencil a little bit more, I think is what we're saying, if they did.
we've actually challenged to numerous Blue Point vendors.
Oh,
That already has sharpened their.
so the Blue, I
That's,
see it.
that's the challenge is that, we knew we wanted the Blue Point system, but there's several vendors out there that install the Blue Point. There was, back in the day when this first came out, there was like one vendor that installed Blue Point. And currently they are on a cooperative. However, Chris, you did get pricing from them, correct?
I got from, yes,
And
from other solutions other than Blue Point.
right, which they're in the TIPS cooperative, which that we could do a sole source. However, the price that Chris got from another vendor was what, about 20,000 less?
Almost 35,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that was the challenge with this is that, and that's when Eric had reached out to Dirk to see, okay, do we have to bid this? And, because they're, out of the gate, there was one vendor. Now there's 12 vendors installing Blue Point. So it's a much bigger.
But there's also probably 15 vendors installing 15 other programs.
There are.
That's-
But I think
We
the
owe it to ourselves to know what's out there.
Right. I think the idea behind this is that from a community standpoint, from a, grade school, high school, all that it's one system in Downers Grove is kind of, and then our police department, they're familiar with it and so on and so forth because of, that's what they train.
I should have reread the sole source part of the procurement code after I read this thing and before I got to the meeting. I understand the interest in wanting to do that. I just don't know if that's what makes something qualify for it.
Right.
But, I know the installation part is the only part that's different. It sounds like the hardware part of this study, we're still sourcing through an indirect means, and I want to make sure we're not doing that.
I don't want to keep the conversation flowing, but Commissioner Johnson, do you have?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. One, you mentioned there's monitoring and like ongoing service. Is that cost included in here? Is that the cost for like a 3-year contract?
So that cost is included in the installation and that's a separate 36-month agreement. And that includes the vendor coming out, maintaining the system, doing an annual test and training the employees. Everything is a wireless device. So that is a good question. You gotta maintain the batteries and make sure that it works. So, and that's what that contract provides.
Okay. And then the second question, you mentioned that this would be in lieu of maybe a key card system. What at the Lincoln Center, because I know it's a little different than a school, is it a locked door that someone
Yes.
opens like the schools?
Yeah, so we do already have access controls
on a majority of the doors at the Lincoln Center, as opposed to the rec center, we don't. So if we deployed something similar, we'd also have to deploy door access control solution. So that would integrate with that door access control solution there,
Okay,
immediately lock the doors. And only emergency personnel could get through the doors.
okay,
It's locked out.
The one thing that is different than a traditional school setting, the school envelope is locked down because we are a recreation center that has senior programs going on, dance going on. Our preschool programs is where those controls are, so they're internal. So you don't go through a locked door to get into the lobby, but to get to the floor and the wing that the preschool classes are, you do have to use the control to get through there.
okay.
Commissioner Dahlstrom, your comments or concerns?
I'm very familiar with the Blue Point system. I do think it is the best in the business. And the path by which we solicit and or seek the vendor bids and has been socialized by fellow commissioners, I would support and agree with.
Yeah, here's my concern, and I'll put it to the commissioners. I'd like to have advice from council regarding the bidding. If there's a product or a vendor out there that can perform the same functionality, we should be open to that. I believe in uniformity and matching? Yes, with Blue Point, with the rest of the schools, or I get it. I understand that concept. I just didn't see that sole source justification in this memorandum, if that makes sense. I mean, if there's an advice and consent from council that this is approved, then I'd like to see a cover letter and base opinion on that.
If I could just add, when we go out to bid, typically for something, it is typical for us to specify a specific product, but it's always, this is what we would prefer, and then it's or approved equal. So that's the standard language when we go out to bid, is you're always opening it up to other products. You're saying, here's the one we like, here's the one we want, or approved equal. And it basically then gives us the opportunity, if they do submit another product, we then have the opportunity to review that product and determine if it meets the same specs and details of the one that we prefer.
No, but in the next steps here, the memo, it's specifically pointing out that product without an equal to. Does that make sense? Or so if the language in the bid packet is going to be different, where it's equal to, it's not reflective here in the next steps in that paragraph.
Yeah, that's a very helpful point. But the memo says who's going to install the Blue Point program if there's nothing else besides the Blue Point program that we're even thinking about is the way this thing worded.
The language in the actual proposal would be as
It would be different.
stated.
Thank you. That's helpful.
I mean,
So we'll get an opinion from Dirk on it, and then we can do a mock what the bid pack would look like to make sure that you're comfortable with the language.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, just,
And we have time on this, so we can either bring it the 20th or December. We'll see how long it takes. But we wouldn't do this until our preschool isn't in session. So that would likely be a spring break, a summer break, something like that. So we have time and it is budgeted, but that'll give us time to get everything back in Durham.
Chance to save money for something that's just as good. I would like to know that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Commissioners, anything else with item number C4? Permission to move on. We're up to item number D. The next Downers Grove Park District Board meeting will be held November 20th at the Recreation Center Multi-Purpose Room. And we go now to item number E, adjourn to closed session. We do have a closed session item. So at this point in time, Mr. McAdam.
Yes, we are looking to go to closed session under the exception under employment. And then that would just be that one item.
Understood. May I please have a motion to go into closed session according to the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 120/2 C5.
C1.
C1, I apologize.
That's okay.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson. Blunt.
We will be coming out of closed session for final adjournment. This portion of the meeting is now closed.